Alright, so I want to touch on this. I couldn't get a chance to touch on this earlier. Something I just got really annoyed at. Of course, relating to my dump again. You know, I think for the past, for the past couple of weeks now, I think I avoided fully talking about my dump and more so just, fully ranting about, like, a full topic rant on my dump. And I'll do that after oh wait, I got a game after. I don't mind. I'll check it out sometime. Because now the HR is just cracking down hard on the brake system, which means you're not going to see me making as many videos as far as my dump is concerned, and I shouldn't have anyway, because every time I would make a video in regards to my dump, as far as what the issues are, it's pretty much the same reaction, the same response, the same rant I would make, the same, or rather a same cycle of rants that I would make every time I go off on my dump, the way that it is. It's never going to change. But I will say this though: a former supervisor has now moved to my aisle. Now, why is that? She wants to work closer with the VP. So she's literally sitting right across from him. I would have thought for a second that there will be a new salesperson sitting in her place, but that's not the case. Because I even asked her, is there a new salesperson coming? She said nope. So that leaves off with 3 empty sales desks at this time, at least until Smooth T comes back. Man, it's been so long already. I wish he had seen me make those 2 straight 4s, right? Last night in that wild thriller in my home court when I was a visitor, just draining those 2 straight 4s on all their faces. Russ, Eugene, and the boss on the third part activity. So in this topic right here, she's back on my aisle. I remember working with her on that very same aisle when I first started. And she was my supervisor then, my co-worker and all that. Me and my co-worker are working with her, especially when it comes to the broadcasting, right? So she's moved back. But here's the thing. I know I'm not going to work directly with her anymore, but the fact that she's back on in that aisle, like I just hate to say this, man. Like, even though that's the case where I'm not having to work directly with her anymore, because I know she's working closely with the VP because she's on the other subdivision, right? The other branch of my dump. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that she's there it brings back this bitter nostalgia of when there's some good and bad, but for some reason it kind of makes me think more on the bitter side of the nostalgia, as far as like the stuff that I had to go through with former supervisor. Some was my fault, some was more that I didn't agree with on the supervisor's end, right? Just a whole lot of BS. And so, again, some of it was my fault, some of it was like, they got annoyed, but it was more on them, right? More on her, more on the supervisor, more on her, more on, just the bitter side of nostalgia, as far as that's concerned, right? Um, it just makes me feel like, I need to really get the hell out of there, because I don't want to be sitting there with my coworker just already in front of me, and I got our former supervisor just being in the same aisle. It almost makes it feel like I'm walking down the memory lane, but for the bitter part of the nostalgia that I've been through in that dump. Because I remembered even back then when she was the supervisor. Like, I understand my coworkers are working on that. He works for on projects from another, or tasks that are or projects rather from the other branch. I'm working on the marketing ads for another branch, but still, it's like I'm going back to where I would ask her, like, when is my time? When am I going to do this? When am I going to do that? As far as, like, growing opportunities to do what my coworker is doing. It's just like, when your time will come. And I wasn't buying all that BS because up to this day I haven't had any potential growth. And to be paid $17.75 when it should have been $18. I don't even know why I couldn't be paid $18 an hour just from the last raise. I mean, I was able to be paid a dollar raise, get a dollar. I mean, I was able to get a dollar raise back in 2022, and only because because I asked for it. At the time I was $15.50, and then from there it was $16.50. Now I don't know if that year, and what was it, in 2022, what if minimum wage back then was. I think it was $15.50 or something. But from 17 to $17.75, it couldn't be 18 exact. Even my parents were concerned, like, why is it not 18? Even Paula was super, she was shocked. She was like, it's super sad that it's not even $18. You know what I'm saying? So it's the fact that my former supervisor is back. It's it just brings you to that bit of nostalgia, and to see it's like sometimes I'm hearing conversations from the sales, when they're kicking back and nothing's going on, which happens most of the time anyway, that about well, it's like, yeah, I remember those days, this and that. Yeah, I would do like to reflect on those days, but the thing is, I don't want to have to keep reflecting them, because I want to get the hell out of here. Period. I want to move on. I've been wanting to move on. Yeah, I know sometimes Ernie will even come out telling me, well, yeah, I remember I miss all these people like Laura and Paula and Gallego. So that, yeah, I get all that. But in the end, instead of just missing them, continue, like, work your way out of there so you can move on too, just like them. I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to move on from this damn place. Just like Lisa, Paula, Kathleen, and all these other people that had left. They're moving on. I should have too, but unfortunately, I'm still stuck here. And now my former supervisor is back on my aisle now, and it's almost like I'm being lured to the bitter part of the bitter side of the nostalgia of when me and my coworker used to work directly with her. You know what I'm saying? It's just it just makes me want to go back, like, to think back on those days like that, especially on how I got hired here, dude. There's literally nothing pretty about like how I just got into this place, and even just during my time here, we're just working here. You know what I'm saying, dude? I'm not in the mood to just go off like this, but man, it's like, yeah, I've had some good moments, but I feel like there's just been more bad than good in here. I'm sorry to say this, man. That's why I just need to move on. If I start a new job, like in a new workplace, I would definitely have a much smoother start than I did here. Because the only reason why I got this job is because of Rico. So, my sub average, my average, subpar average portfolio, luckily made it to the dump. And the fact that I was told by him, from the VP, hey, well, make sure you mentor him and all that. Yeah, he's talking about me, mentor me. So, I've said enough that I need to say, man, because like I said, I need to move on. I definitely need to move on sooner or later, man, because there's just no way. And I got to get inside because, I'm not going to be likely having a chance to cook this dump anymore. Like, now that the HR is just cracking down on the 10-minute, on the brake system, you know what I'm saying? So, well, it is what it is, dude. But at the same time, I'm trying to avoid, these kind of topics, as much as possible, which to my credit, I have not had many topics on this for the last couple of weeks, and especially with what transpired in with as far as the personal situation is concerned. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. Peace out, y'all.